Good evening, and it is September 10th, 5:03, 2025. We're going to call this meeting to order. Down Valley acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7, including the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of Siksika, Kainai, and Kainai First Nations, Estonia and Lakota, Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstoney First Nations, and Métis Region 3 or 4. I think they changed it. So we'll say Métis Region of Alberta. Or pencil, the actual name. All right, call to order, adoption of agenda, please. Brendan gives us that. All in favor for special counsel. Bingo, that's good. Business item, bylaw 2025-122, municipal development plan. Let's go. Where'd we leave off, El Capitan? Next amendment up.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. There were several amendments passed at the meeting on the 3rd. Those are in the agenda package. The direction was to come back for discussion about the items that the council members would like to bring forward.
Oh, turn off your dingers. Thank
Yeah.
Stop.
I'll keep them on, do not disturb all day, you're good.
Turn them on at me.
I have only ever used my phone.
Yeah, true.
So it's
Oh, that's.
whatever the items are the council would like to bring forward for discussion.
Okay.
We want to talk about density.
That's me.
Okay,
That's what we want.
That's our baby.
thanks.
That's all I wanna talk about.
Great segue.
I didn't know that.
So I have some slides that hopefully help council with visualizing density. And with Verna's magic and assistance.
They're not in the package, right? It's just that one.
Package too.
Pardon?
Yeah. Page.
You know what? I'll just open the document. It'll be easier.
2/3.
This is easier.
Thank you. Okay. And when you're ready, I'll just hit you.
Can I ask a question? So, did, and maybe this is for council too, but I think we kind of established what the infill density, minimum infill density.
For that session, 6.154, we
15,
said
right?
15, yeah.
15, right, I just,
Changed the formula.
So
well, that's why I wanted
Yeah,
to make
so-
sure we were on the
yeah.
page
So
before we
this-
started.
this presentation is going to revisit that to some extent.
Okay,
Because I believe there was some confusion and commentary about what that would actually translate to, that 15 that was arrived at.
Okay.
So density, it's measured as dwellings per hectare in our bylaw. The design, the building form and design shape can really impact perception more than the numbers. So if you have a big block with a blank face, that's very different than something that's designed to look like a house that has the same number of units in it. And then the plan and street views can show us also how it feels at a human scale versus just in plan view.
Go ahead, tell me where you want to be.
Next. Yep. So some of the design elements, again, discussed a lot in the MDP. So green infrastructures are street trees, landscaping, human scale. So the building articulation, materials, the strategic parking, potentially moving parking into the rear of sites versus continuous front drive garages, and then really capitalizing on shared spaces with courtyards, parks, pathways. Next. I've gone through the town of Diamond Valley and picked some existing developments to help council understand what numbers look like in our community. Next. So for example, on Frontenac, the 200 block, that equates to 13.5 units per hectare. And that would be the north and south facing off of Frontenac. And you can see the street view.
Yeah.
They're kind of more modest homes, kind of average sized lots, some rear garages. Next.
What would be the width of a lot there, give or take? I think 43 is just kind of the normal. That's an older part of town. Would that be a little bit larger? Maybe 60.
If you want a number, I can get one for you. Give me 45 seconds.
Yeah, Frontenac is like it still has a small town feel, right? A little larger lots. Lots of room. So we're gonna squeeze.
So
it in.
17.7 meters is,
So 51. Give or take. In that realm. Yeah. Okay,
so then we move on
That's
to.
What did you say for width?
51,
51.
give or take, 17.
Two huge lots.
Yeah, compared to what we have coming forward, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of room. That's my point. So there's lots of room in these lots. So as we go greater density, there's still lots of room. John's also small.
The reason I like these, hypothetically, if we went with this, speaking to the lots of room, it opens, not opens, but it encourages the secondary suites like we currently have been trying to promote, to have more per lot, so to speak. Whereas if we, like, those R1Ns that we just approved on Royal, their new zoning, and those are pretty tight, those are pretty small. To go secondary there, almost impossible. I mean, you're gonna have issues with parking as well. Just something to consider.
And so the sustainability in terms of the fiscal impact of development of this nature, we're looking at about half to a third. Next, Verna. Valley Ridge, on the Black Diamond side is 10.5 units per hectare. So that would be what I consider like a super average suburban subdivision from that time.
This is over by the,
Go.
Mhm.
That's up down area at the end of.
Government road.
It's at the end of Government Road where it dead ends to go down into the path.
yeah, there's.
If you go to the east.
So they're looking at the west end.
Those lots are huge too.
Oh, they're massive.
Yeah. those
Yeah,
are-
so that's
That's a
taken,
10 unit per.
so that's 10.5, and that took into account the credit for the MR in the center.
So tell me that formula for a second. Do we factor in the MR? Do we remove the MR?
So under the current density calculation, it is area minus ER and just ER currently. You wanted to see some examples of, sorry, this does not take into account the MR, but there is MR in here. So one of the options that we talked about last time was crediting the MR. So sorry, this does not include the MR. It has MR in the subdivision, and it's at a 10.5 units per hectare.
So just to dumb it down a little bit for me. So we remove the MR from your land density. Let's say hypothetically we do that with the current MDP, that's 24. What would that do to the density? What would that final number be?
So in this case, if we credited the MR, it'd be the 2.19 minus the 1.7, and then you'd have the 23 into the 2.02. So the density would go up slightly for this.
So removing the MR increases the density number at the final end of it,
Yes.
right? Okay, that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
clarify. I thought so, but thanks for confirming.
Next. Bridgestone Lane, which is in the southeast corner of Black Diamond, south of the hospital. So this is the infill and the new density that we were proposing at first draft of 24 units per hectare.
Because it's, sorry,
Yeah.
we have to remember we're dealing with a community that has 90% of these big, huge lots. We need to get other stuff. So we can't just keep building the same of what we have. We have to keep that in mind. We're not starting from scratch a whole new community. We're trying to get a mix of everything. We have to go a little higher on the density.
You're gonna be diverse.
So I do have a
To
question
make
on
up
that.
for the fact that we never were before.
So we've already But the infill recommended it at that 6.1.8 or whatever that number was at 15. Would it make sense? Because the city of Calgary has like 20, I think that's their number that they're aiming for, which is significantly lower than 24. Doesn't sound like it, but it is. What value would there be in designating through that figure 5 different density areas? So to like what you spoke about. So infill, we've already recognized we're transitioning, that's going to be 15, but yet we're aiming for 20 or 24. Why wouldn't we be very specific in the MDP, the areas where we want to know that higher density? Why wouldn't we go that route?
Like a certain area,
Mhm.
a certain neighborhood.
More specifically aimed at Coles Crossing.
Well, it is, and it speaks to what Cindy just said
Right.
about new areas. Because
Mhm.
my concern in potential infill or existing residential, if we're gonna be blanket coverage and saying, hey, go for it, you can go up to 20 or 24, boom, then we have issues. That's what residents don't want to see. So I wouldn't wonder why we don't be a bit more proactive at this stage to designate which areas we want to have a higher density to achieve an overall growth. I don't know. I think we need to be a bit more strategic.
I'd like to hear Carrie's feedback on that from the planning.
100%.
Heather has her hand up when, just so you know.
But yeah, we're gonna go with Carrie. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we want. Go ahead, Heather.
I tend to agree with Jonathan. Like, I don't mind this density for a subdivision such as this. This gives us the diversification. But I also, like, that's where I get the diverse thing. Like, if we're gonna have a developer come in and they're gonna cover the whole quarter section with 24 units per hectare, that doesn't keep our small town feel. So there's got to be kind of a halfway point here that we can work with. That's just my thoughts.
Can I give a follow-up as well?
Yes.
Though I understand the reason why we're going to a higher density to minimize replacement costs over time, to be actual affordable. The reality is this, in communities where there is that higher density, there's also a greater reliance on two major factors that we don't have. Number one is public transit, and number two is local jobs to support those who are in those communities. And that's not who we're attracting to our community. And I don't think we'll ever attract that to our community. So for me, that's a major factor that we haven't really considered. And by the way, that's not original with me. That's one of our MDP steering committee members reached out to me and said, why haven't we been considering this?
Just on the second point, Jonathan, I agree with that, but at the same time, when we look at newer construction, like south of the hospital, if they're gonna be building a Sobeys, a Dollarama, all these types of new businesses, we are gonna need that type of housing to support that. So I don't know, it's like the horse or the cart, like which one comes
Yeah.
first? Do we provide the housing first and then the businesses come? If the businesses come, they're likely to fail because like you said, we don't have, you can't afford to live in a house here for $600,000 and be a supervisor at Dollarama.
No,
It doesn't, the math doesn't math there.
no.
So what are we doing? I'd like to see a higher density in some part,
Same.
excuse me. In speaking to Heather's point about the small town feel, there's very few places that I go to outside of Riverwood in our town. I don't go drive through Maplewood or I don't go up to Sunrise. So my small town feel is exactly where I live,
Yeah.
in Riverwood. That's my small town feel. That's not gonna be taken away from me.
No.
The traffic may increase, we may get more lights, that's gonna change my perspective on the town long-term, but that's gonna happen regardless of the types of communities we build. I'm not gonna go and drive through Colts Rock Crossing and be like, wow, it's really busy here. It would suck to live over here because there's no small town feel. That's not gonna bother me. And the people that are moving into a place like Colts Crossing or Diamond Ridge, they're gonna buy according to their wants and needs as a new community member here. So if you move to Colts Crossing into a fourplex or a condo, that's your vision of the community. That's exactly what you're striving for at the time of purchase. So Riverwood's not gonna change for me. Nothing else is gonna change over here unless people start buying double wide lots.
We've just opened up infill in Riverwood,
behind me.
everywhere, the whole
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah, well, there's not a whole lot of infill there.
So anyone can build a garage suite behind you. And like your whole neighborhood.
Well, I have ER behind me, so it's not gonna change how
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, you particularly.
Yeah. But that's just my point, like along with, we need to build for future business, so what comes first? I know we're not developers, we're not gonna pave roads for people and start looping in so that we attract developers. But we need to provide developers with, or excuse me, businesses with potential, like employees, like AG has the majority of their staff that are high school kids, same thing with Rona. Right, or they're retirees that have, but we have no middle ground at all. We have, there's no opportunity for someone to come in and be a manager at Sobeys and afford a house here. There's nothing, we don't provide that to people right now. So I don't know if we're gonna lose that small town feel if we approve things like Colts Crossing. However, I would like to honor ASPs and other developments that are ongoing when it comes to infill, Diamond Ridge specifically, and there's other ones in the community. Let them continue building the way that they want to build. The communities are already mature. Let that flush out. And then when we welcome communities like Colts Crossing, let's go from there.
I agree. That's where I.
Sorry, I just talked a lot.
Yeah, no, that's what we want. We want thoughts, we want debate. I agree with both. We have to have increased density. Not only because we need those young, people to have spaces here, but we also need to meet our financial needs. Towns, without that tax base, without that increased density, we're not gonna be matching up to the infrastructure needs as it goes forward. We're already landlocked to 10,000, give or take, right? So we need to think the most cost-effective method for 10,000. That's as much as some people want to hear, increased density. But that's in new areas and infills. Infills we've already seen are getting loaded up in N1, R1 ends, whatever. I'm fine with that. 'Cause if you take an old lot in Calvin, they're huge. They're knocking them down. They knocked down my mother-in-law's house. They bought it for 450. And they put up an 18-bedroom monster house right in downtown Kensington, 2 houses away from Crowchild, sold for 2.6 million. Okay, so you're next to 8 lanes of traffic and you still drop 2.6 million. We're in the country, we are a small town feel because, and Brendan just said, and I'm glad he said it because I've been saying it. People who move here are gonna move here because they want in. And they're gonna pick that fourplex or that condo because that's where their lifestyle is at that moment. Myself and Christine, when we moved over to Oaks, lived in the Bristol Shores fourplexes. And they were 20 feet wide, 3 stories high, 18 sets of stairs, like it was more stairs than it was actually a living space. But we're young, kidless, and go-getters. We basically used it as a stopping ground. So we are the same thing here. You're gonna have young people come here who are doing their own thing. They're gonna be out doing their thing, out in the woods, traveling. They're just gonna be here and gone. And then when they have kids, they're gonna move into the next one. So we need to be diverse, as Jonathan's always said, we have to have diversity of housing. We have to have a plethora of diversities scattered around. For all parts of town, they're pretty much gonna remain the same. Very few people are gonna knock down the house and put up the big duplex. But they might put in the garage with a little suite, right? And if they do, great, good for them. They've got the money and they've got the vision and they want to take the risk. Go for it. I think Brendan has another good point. Places like Diamond Ridge who have been on that map and scheduled out for years, and we've been just waiting for it to get filled in. Get that done the way it was. All the new ones that are coming up, so Royal Lake East, West, all at Colts, everything else. This is where this truly needs to be applied so that that's rolling forward. Everything else was done on the basis that, this is it. So that's really the only one left that was already in the checkbox, with ASP that was in place for ages. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it is, let's make sure we don't go and rewrite this MGP. After we did all the committee meetings, we looked at all these charts. And now we're kind of backpedaling a little bit, getting into the weeds. When really, the developer could come in next term, say, okay, I look at the MVP, love it, here's my proposal. Matches all these boxes, but I'd like to change this little one. How's council feel about that? And the council they might say, yeah, okay, that's okay, change that a little bit.
It's $5,000.
Yeah. So I feel we've done a lot of work and I don't want us to go too deep. But what we've done to this point is really, really good work. Staff has done really good work. We've got feedback from the developers. We've made some tweaks. This is a living document, so it can get tweaked again. As developers want to change something, they can come in and have that conversation. But I think we need to, for the community's sake, keep the density as close to believable as we believe it can be. And then go forward, see what else comes down like from developers' points of view, because we're on the map and people are coming. We wouldn't have 26 development applications coming over, so if we didn't have sites. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Heather.
Thanks, Barry. I agree that we don't want to be rewriting the municipal development plan. But right from the get-go, we've always said that we want diverse housing. And we do want to keep that small town feel. And I still take the stand that I don't want to become a Cochrane and I don't want to become an Okotoks. And with the 24, where are we at for density now? Like, is it 15 units per hectare?
15 was info.
Carrie, what's her number?
There was an amendment passed by council last meeting to reduce infill to 15 units per hectare. And the new communities are at 24 units per hectare.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have one more question for Carrie. Like, if we take out the MR, one of the other things that we heard all the time, and we talked about it at the committee meetings and said that we wanted that, is the walkability of our communities. What does that mean with this density for developers that are coming in? It's not necessarily
So
our
under-
lands, is it?
Yeah, so if I may, through the mayor, pathway connections and parks are typically allocated through the dedication of MR. And there is a 10% minimum MR, particularly in new communities is what we're looking for. And there is some flexibility on how that MR can be taken, whether it's large centralized parks or pathway connections.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but both the developers that came to speak to us both said that the 24 units per hectare was too big. What was their reasoning for that? I didn't
Marketability.
really-
Marketability. They both said it in their presentations.
So, okay, that's all I have to say. I'm still not in favor of the 24.
Okay. I know it's not so. Okay, Cindy.
Yeah, you said Calgary's currently 20 everywhere. Do they just do one?
Under the Calgary Regional Metropolitan Regional thing that has now been disbanded, that we were never part of. My understanding is that Calgary was at 25 and the other towns were at 20.
20, what is that into acres?
Pardon?
What is that into lots per acre?
It's
22.
22%.
Is 8.9%.
8.9%.
8.30.
8.1,
At 20.
correct.
Oh, we're going for 12.
Because they didn't go for 30. 30 per hectare. It's up to 12 per hectare.
That's one.
Well, it is. And the reason Okotoks doing that is they're running behind right now. They're financially in trouble.
So that's what I'm saying is let's take a lesson from them,
Not being financial.
not being financial trouble. Brendan.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point earlier too, Barry, is that we are sitting around a cap of 10,000, right? So,
Yeah.
so smart development for sure. Yeah, I think it's important to keep that 10,000 in mind. I mean, clearly our water treatment plant can go higher than that. Can it not? Can it go to?
You mean our
Sewage, sorry, sewage.
You
into it.
said,
Make it commercial, we have,
but water treatment plant could do 9, but the MDM is 10%. So,
Yeah.
if we spend a couple $1 million, we might get a recycling system, you might get a.
Right.
If you. But, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't take long
No,
to hit those numbers.
we still have to distinguish between if we're comfortable with, like, I'm still more than comfortable with the 15 in town. I think we need to differentiate between the two conversations that we're having. And like to Jonathan's point, we have an opportunity to distinguish. You know, the infill 15, what's the other number for new development? Brownfield,
Like your greenfield.
Greenfield, sorry, Greenfield, yeah.
yeah, well, 24 is presently, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
Carrie?
I have 21 more slides for context if that helps.
Okay, sorry. While we go there.
Let's go there.
We're jumping too far. Okay.
Well, it's good.
So one of the things in terms of small town feel, and I hear this going back and forth, again, goes back to design. So road patterns and architectural styles. If you want to go back to small town feel, you're going to go back to Frontenac. You're going to go back to gridiron roads and no front drive garages. Right? And so what does small town feel again, right? Is small town density, is small town front drive garages, is small town trees? There are a lot of ways to get to a development type that is comfy, cozy, you know, that you're hoping for. The other thing that was brought up just in the discussion was the cart, horse, chicken, egg thing. My understanding is that when Eau Claire was built in downtown Calgary, they did the mall first and the commercial wasn't supported by residential and it died. So what I've been taught through my formal education is you typically want to do the residential that then can support the commercial so that when the commercial establishes, it can keep
That's
going. Next, please, Verna. So I am going to just go back to infill, which I promised I would do at the beginning of this. Next, please. I have, again, lots of examples from in town. So 515 Morrison was brought to council with the proposal you see on the board, which is at 79.2 units per hectare. Next. 302 George was approved by the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board at 56 units per hectare. Next, please. 601 First Street Southwest was approved as R1N for potential subdivision into 4 units at 44.4 units per hectare. Next. 240 Edward Ave Northwest, which we know is key to that north-south connection through there. So in red, I've delineated the potential future road, should that ever go into redevelopment, and then mimic the property lines from the south side, just to the north, and that could accommodate the 24 units per hectare at the same intensity as is currently developed in the established community. Next. 900 3rd Street Southwest previously had 52 units approved on it, and to meet the 24 units per hectare would require 40. Next. 415 4A Ave would require 13 units. We've seen that come forward with commercial on the bottom, apartments above. The commercial would get credit. So from that 0.5, we would subtract any area for commercial. I believe the original was about 10 or 11. And based on my revised calcs, they need 8. Next. Next, please, Verna.
You could fall in a white trailer.
514 Windsor, so the lot on which we sit at 24 units per hectare would require 36 units. The example on the right-hand side of the screen is Edgedale Gardens. So we all love talking about where we moved when we moved out of our parents' house or when we first got married. That's where I moved when I moved to Calgary. And there are 36 units in that development. It's very similar. It's a little bit smaller in size actually, and has 36 units on it. And then the street view is very similar to the Ridgestone Lane units, except they're 2-story.
Yeah, so that's all.
No one's ever gonna go in there. Like if you're a resident, it's like, oh, I can't believe I built this here.
So I guess that's my point. The conversations had at steering committee were infill at 24 based on what we've already had come forward. 24 is low.
Yeah.
So 15 is really low. Some food for thought there. Would you like to continue to Greenfield?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
rolling. Thank you, Brenna.
That's just info.
Okay, so Riverwood and Willow Ridge, the quarter section has a multitude of different land uses, a bunch of different types of residential, some commercial, some public service, MR, ER, PUL. I've mentioned the Sheep River because it was never actually taken as ER, but in my calculations, I have dedicated it as ER because that would be the logical thing if it ever did something else with it. So the current density for that quarter section is 11 units per hectare. And if you go next, Verna, so you can see what that looks like on the quarter.
Including all.
Yeah, it's all down.
That is for the quarter,
That's per hectare.
yes.
That's
Next,
including all
please.
like the.
All the green space, everything.
Yes, that is taking into account the ER, the MR, the commercial within the calculations.
Still commercial, or you counted the hospital.
So the hospital is credited because it's an employment center. Next, please.
It's still.
So Kaiser has some existing residential, some low density, medium, high density proposed, some local roads. Under the current density methodology, it would be 18.4. Next, please. And that is what 18.4 looks like in plan view. Next, Holtz Crossing ASP phases 1 through 3. Proposed land uses again residential, mixed use, service, commercial, MR, PUL, and roads. Under current density methodology, it gets to 15.3. Next. And that is what it looks like in plan view. Lot of single family. Well, but not really because of the change to the district that they're proposing. So question marks. Next, please. 460 Main Street. We are currently waiting an application for an ASP. There's 15.87 hectares there. Under the current density methodology, they would require 343 units.
That's a lot.
And what's that density then?
Up to.
At 24,
At 24.
correct.
And
Next,
that's
please.
what always was?
No,
Pardon?
that's the new NDP.
So under previous discussion, 215 were proposed, which brings us to 13.5.
Terry, where is this located? Yeah.
That is west of Maine, south of Eau Claire,
Gemma.
That's done.
It's-
Just.
it's-
formerly Everwood.
Oh, Everwood, okay.
Next, please. Jumping Pound Ridge and Cochrane, which was presented last week, 15 hectares, achieves a density of 24.6. And a mix of townhouses and single family, lots of front drive garage product. Next, please. Liberty Landing in Red Deer County, multiple land uses again, no commercial, a little bit of ER, they're 10% MR, some PUL. And accessory dwelling units proposed as part of 18% of their single detached housing, which brings them to 896 units or 19.8 units per hectare. Next, please. This is my super generic quarter section. And yes, in your head, when you read that in your package, I hope that you read it in my voice. So this proposes some commercial, our 10% MR that we're looking for, about a 5-6% PUL, which is not uncommon, and it got erased out of there, but it was in the low 30s for roads, which is again very common, typical. The current density methodology in my super generic quarter section achieves 20.9 units per hectare. Next, please. And just some mirroring here, so some commercial on the corners. The brown are apartment buildings, some town home developments in the orange, some multi-row houses, duplexes in that kind of peach color, and then singles on the yellow. So just using the super generic quarter section, we get to about 20.9. Next, please. So again, a lot of food for thought. It's not just the number in front of us, it's also what do you want that form and function to be? Because depending on how the site is arranged, depending on how our landscaping and park space is arranged, it can really drastically change the look and feel of a community. And we talked about the benefits of compact, well-designed housing and communities and those strong community connections, and how it impacts livability, affordability, and the environment. Thanks, Verna.
All right. That was rather informative and good visuals. So infill and greenfield. That's really what we need to decide.
Why does everyone want to treat them differently? Like, why are we saying this, but somebody else, is there what was the rationale?
Answer over there.
Yeah, so it's twofold. The first thing is obviously working in established communities is different than working on a blank piece of land with a lot of land. You're not going to be dealing with typically building new roads, doing service mains, lift stations, stormwater management ponds, all the infrastructure that's associated with greenfield development. So when we're doing infill, we typically have the bounds of our parcel and the project is within the bounds of that parcel. Whereas greenfield, we're dealing with much larger spaces, creating a whole bunch of parcels, like 300 or 400, and dealing with a lot of infrastructure development as well. That's why they're typically treated differently.
Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I keep thinking that infill should be higher because they don't have all the MR, they don't have the roads. So that's why I'm wondering why we're going lower on the infill. When,
That would be a question for
yeah,
them.
do I have it twisted though in my brain?
No, so in an infill situation, again, you don't have the requirement to provide PUL. You typically don't have the requirement to provide, so PUL for like stormwater ponds, for example, you don't have the requirement to do roads. And roads eat up, again, like I said, usually in that low 30s is what we would expect to kind of see come across in a subdivision. So you're not putting all of that space into those things. So thus you can have more space to do more housing.
Alright, so I have it right in my brain. Infill should be higher density.
Yeah, so if you go back up for enough to like 9,
Well, if you don't have 10% MR and you don't have 30% roads, you can fit a whole lot more houses on it.
so again, just
Yeah,
so 79 next. 56,
yes. Yeah,
44 next. And down to one more. 52. So those are ones that have already been approved.
Those are all good. Those are fine. Those are big numbers.
But they're specific to a small lot.
Yeah.
That's,
Specific.
that's my point.
Yeah, they're trying to make most bang for the buck.
Yeah, and it's not like we're putting that in a new division.
No,
And the current requirement for infill density to meet that density is anything over half a hectare. So in all my examples, all of these lots are over half of a hectare.
Here's my question, just in regards to that, because there's a reason developers will choose this, because all those houses have them. So what does the town receive to accommodate for the excessive amount of extra sewage going to the lift stations downstream from this location? Yeah, do we have anything that actually captures that?
Yep, our utility rates.
Okay, that's it. There's no one-time shot for the developer.
So in areas where offsite levies are owing and have not been paid, we would also expect payment of offsite levies.
So often,
In some parts,
in some,
Yeah, Turner Valley is holes in our offsite levy bylaw. Yeah, we would like to fix. We got flush this first. Yeah.
so, I mean, personally. Developers can come in and pass. Right? You need to pick some numbers,
15's minimum.
Planning cert.
15s are min,
15's minimum, and that's what we heard from developers last week, is like,
go up.
give us the 15, and then every developer can come in and they can ask for the moon if they want. They can build higher density if they want.
I think it needs to be.
You need planning cert. That's what I keep preaching. People, they're not gonna come and talk to us. They're gonna read our MDP. They're gonna pay their planner to read the MDP and say, do we want to develop out here or not? They're not gonna come talk to us. They're not gonna waste their time. We have to get this right. I don't know, maybe I'm just a stickler on that, but coming in to amend something and the uncertainty and the weeks waiting for public hearing and then having the locals come out and whatever, like, it's no fun. Who wants to do that? Like, let's get it right. I think it needs to be higher for infill, though.
So you're
Not
saying
15,
20 or 24.
say 30 for infill. If they say Calgary and 20 for. Say, it's all the size of the rest of it.
3-story. Right there, for example. Right. That's gonna ruffle us.
Yeah.
There's,
They already did once.
right, that's right.
We won that appeal.
Their feathers are ruffled because they got gravel roads that we don't have money to pay. Well,
Okay, Sydney says 30.
I don't know. I feel like I'm picking numbers out of my head. I would really like an administration recommendation on some things. Like, you guys know our books. You've sat with the planners. Like, I don't want to just throw numbers out. I should even put ones, you know, whoever speaks first loses on pulling out numbers.
Do you want to talk through recommendations from the MDP and the steering committee?
Yeah, so. Yeah, if I may, Mayor. So when we met the first time to talk density with steering committee, the number that was proposed. With. I'll say an ambitious fiscal underpinning was 30. So that was the consultant and administration's recommendation to steering committee at that. Through this process is 30.
And that was based really heavily on financial requirements, looking to the future.
It was based very heavily on financial and very heavily on current housing stock and recommendations from the housing report.
The infills have no trouble hitting these high densities.
But that was something.
We have to classify what's in front. Like, if half acre up to one.
The house that's already.
It's
Like,
like
that's-
salvage areas. We've got the map out.
Yeah, so
Once it's only.
I'm looking at the map, it's not as clear as I'd like it to be, maybe I'm missing it on 5 there where it does that. I think there's two considerations that we have to really consider, is the housing report, the demand for housing. That's the first one. But the second one as well is what are the relevant stakeholders who are investing their dollars into this? What are their market reports looking for? And we've heard from two of them that the market reports don't justify such a high density. So we have to consider that. Yes, we want to make certain that we have fiscal resilience in our plan, but if nobody's going to be buying it, all our good plans just go out the window. So we have to listen to the relevant stakeholders. And I'm going to make this comment that the relevant stakeholders should have been much more involved after June than they were. Excuses can be made as to why they weren't, but they weren't. And now we've heard from two of them very clearly with reference to what their market feasibility studies have shown. And we need to listen. Because it's not going to change. Because prices are going up, costs of doing business are going up. So we have to be very realistic about what's on the table right now, what's currently being considered, and be realistic with our approach. That's why I don't want to just throw in a number, because I think we're being unrealistic when we're talking such big numbers without having more guardrails in place. Like if I have 2 quarter sections and I say you gotta have 30 residents or 30 units per acre, because that's what our fiscal resilience says. Whether we want to accept it or not, we're losing the small town feeling we'll be caught with, because that's what it looks like. You're 2 stories on 33-foot lots with a front end drive, and that's what it's gonna be. And we've heard from our residents, they don't want that. We've heard it at the, within our open houses for the MDP, we've heard it in the open houses for our ASP. So there's 3 major considerations that we just can't storm our way through and say, yeah, that's good to go. We've been elected to make decisions that benefit the community while also recognizing what the community wants.
Yeah, but the community has 1,500 large lot, single detached houses already.
It does, but those don't move.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a negative input for that.
Okay, Karen.
If I may, we do have definitions in the MDP for greenfield development and infill. So greenfield is, undeveloped, previously undeveloped lands that would require servicing. Infill is in an established community. So if you can tell me who your neighbors are on either side and, go around to your neighbors and take a petition, you're probably in an established community doing infill. If you can't name 10 people that live in that community, you're probably doing infill. If it's on that nice map that council passed that requires an ASP, it's greenfield. So I think that if you want to think of it in that way, that those very large blocks of land that would require an ASP or typically would have an ASP requirement on them, that's greenfield. The other comment is in terms of the drafting of the plan was done in accordance with steering committee direction, where steering committee was given kind of 3 options of status quo to be very picky. And steering committee gave direction between option 2, 3, which is how this plan was drafted.
Brendan.
Still 15 on infill, and I'll let the developers and planning take it from there for higher density.
Because market feasibility studies that they work with will show whether or not higher density is the way to go.
And I went to all the open houses. And I listened to developers last week.
15 for infill or everywhere?
No, for infill. And then for greenfield, let's talk about that number. Because I thought we decided on 15 last week for infill.
We did.
We voted
That
on it.
amendment. And
Yeah.
voted on it.
We voted on that one. So I thought we were just coming tonight to talk about the formula for greenfield. And then we were gonna move forward on the MVP, because as you mentioned earlier, we're backtracking.
We still haven't dealt with all the recommendations.
Of course. But I, last night, or last.
You're right.
week,
We amended that on infill. We did.
No, but tonight you just seen 6 or 8 different infill developments that are like 40 plus.
Mhm.
And you're
But
saying you're good.
who
with
brought them
50.
forward?
Yeah,
Who brought them forward?
the developer.
Exactly, right? That's my point. So.
And they're allowed to.
And that's, we need to create an MDP that allows for that creativity of the developer to come in with their market feasibility, what works. Like honestly, that R3 on McLeod and George, I had no idea that they could do that. Even though it's permitted of R3 allowed for multi-residential, and the way with that we amended our LUV recently to allow for the secondary suites, boom, they come in with phenomenal amount of lots. That looks fabulous.
Yeah,
So,
but you have all the neighbors now because they were expecting,
But it's
to be like 15.
but it's R3 that allows it.
Same thing behind my house.
So if
If
we're very careful, like I'm just reading online here, city of Calgary in certain areas has phenomenal amounts based on land use. So if we put in our MDP that infill is minimum of 15, and then we're very careful when zones are presented, R3, boom, that's multifamily residential. Somebody comes in, cool, it's infill, but I can go up to 58 or 64 or 412, whatever size of land allows for it. That, for me, works for a developer. I would want that freedom of creativity moving forward.
I would, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think that really takes away from the small town feel. Jonathan, you start seeing too many of those.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
But we're forcing it if we go higher density. We're forcing developers to build higher density if we go to 24. Whereas if
Yeah.
we stay at 15, we give the developers the option to make the decision themselves and work with planning.
So to that point, if I may, a great example is if we go with infill, let's pull out that number of 30, the highest fiscal resilience that we in the steering committee recognize based on administration's recommendation. We go to infill at 30. Right now, township planning would have to switch their ASP and you would go from where is that George Street going south has already an existing road connection. All of a sudden you would go from 6.9 units to boom, 30.
And all the traffic.
And all the traffic that would do that.
And
And then John Street coming down off of Sunrise, that's already there with an elbow ready design. And you would go from a 6.9 to boom, 30.
Okay, what was the George Street development?
No, not the R3. I'm talking the already developed area of George Street. So George and McLeod is already done. On the top of McLeod, on the west side of McLeod, you have duplexes, but surrounding that, you have really large single detached dwelling. The R3 came in, that's why those 48 residents are so upset. All of a sudden, they are losing their single detached dwelling to an R3 of 58 units. So hypothetically, where McLeod is, or George is going to join up because it's an established community with infill right behind it, with no transition, we could potentially say tonight, we're going to go 30 with infill. That area would be then called infill development, and all of a sudden, they
What
have,
parcel? I'm still.
no, that whole area of what is former,
Diamond Ridge, right?
Diamond Ridge.
Diamond Ridge.
Yeah, talking about
That's
Diamond
not
Ridge.
infill.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
That's not considered infill. It's considered it needs an ASP. That was.
No, that is that green lot thing. That's that.
In
the
the-
region
Terry, you want
lot.
to clarify?
In the figure,
Yeah.
in figure 5, it's infill.
Yeah, so 302 George was approved at 42 units and Diamond Ridge is considered greenfield development. It requires ponds and lift stations and servicing and roads. It's not serviced land. It's not serviced
No,
land.
I was talking about that lot.
No,
I'm talking about.
Okay, so I'm gonna weigh in. I can totally agree with the methodology that Brendan is presenting in terms of minimum 15. A developer wants to make more money, he's gonna propose more density.
bingo.
He will do that. And here's how I can tell you, Cindy, because I know we don't really agree a little bit, but I'm gonna convince you now. The R1Ms are a good example of how quickly developers jumped on our density abilities. When we went with R1X, we had 5 more applications. We made an exception for one, for a little tiny 2 lot down across from the town. We had 5 applications for R1Ns because the density, the developer is gonna pack it in. So, what's our friend there who did the West Independence building?
Sutherland.
Peter, probably.
Jason.
That corner lot, turned it into 4 lots because now you could go $1.2 million for these small houses. So they're going to look at it from a financial perspective and go, oh, that's nice that they got 15 as a minimum. But we're gonna ask for 25,
So to that point,
you know what I mean? But it guarantees that
I have,
it keeps it within a realm.
like, I would,
Don't go higher.
hey, in all the research I've done in the last year and a half that we've been studying about the MVP, what provides the greatest flexibility for a developer to come with a mix of typologies? Based on what I've heard from Quantum and Township and from other developers, you go with a number that allows for flexible typologies is usually on the lower end. Because when you're pushing to the higher end, you're really hamstringing the developer and you're demanding what we see on those narrow lots, 2 stories, single, whatever. So I think we have to be a little bit more creative and consider what allows for flexibility in the typology. As the developers shown, they're coming with flexibility.
I think that we keep mixing between whether we're talking about greenfield and infill. So we need to, Colts Crossing has way too many R1s, in my opinion, but that might just be.
No, I agree.
So they need to be pushed up. Greenfield, you're right, there are gonna come with 40 and 50, and it probably doesn't matter, so it's not a hill I'm gonna die on. But I don't like the messaging that somebody thinks, oh, it's R3, but it could be, you know, only a couple little whatever. And then all of a sudden you have George Street and they're like, how can they do that? It would have just been better if it was clearly in our MDP that we are expecting people to have a higher density. It's 30 units and everyone can know it and expect it. And you don't get a realtor saying, oh yeah, it's just gonna be a few little houses in there and then 48.
Total
Right.
solid point.
So to me, I like the certainty.
Mm.
Like if they're gonna do it anyways, let's just make it certain, so everybody in town knows that we are expecting higher density.
Mm.
So that's why I like the 30 number, but I'm not gonna die on it. I am gonna be more concerned about infill. You're not doing 15 as an infill or a greenfield. I think financially that would kill us.
I understand and I agree with that. Like, I'm not going to 30 for the greenfield, but based on my understanding with the research I've done in the last year and a half, conversations, not with developers just here in town, elsewhere, is when you go to a lower number, it gives them greater flexibility to bring different types of developments in. Whereas if you go with a higher density, you're really restricting what they provide. And I don't know that's the route I want to take. I want to allow for them to know the market and say, this is our feasibility study and this is why we think so. So we said, let's just throw out a number, hypothetically. For greenfield, we set the minimum at 18. Might be higher, might be less. Let's say we go with 18. Developer comes in, that's the minimum. Developer comes in and says, you know what, we've done a feasibility study. We've looked at the studies the town has done. We've done our own market study. You know what? I think we want to do something more. And so could we do a new zone such as what Quantum did with the R2X or whatever they want to call that allows for higher density? They know the market. And the markets change. So let's be careful with understanding that. Set a little bit of flexibility in our plan that allows for that market adjustment by the ones putting the money behind it.
Yeah, where I want the flexibility is in the public use lands and the MR. Because I think we do have some unique parcels, but maybe I'm wrong on that. For the amount of unbuildable areas and some. Like. Ponds and such.
Okay, I'm gonna go Hazel and then we're gonna move on from infill because we did have a motion.
No, that's done.
We've pulled it apart, we've looked at it,
Let's leave it.
so we're gonna move on to Hazel and then we're gonna look at some amendments and get some brass tacks.
No, carry on.
Oh, okay,
You want to tackle the amendments then?
we're gonna go to amendments. So Greenfield is gonna be our,
Do you have amendments written or is that up to
I
us?
had no amendments.
Okay.
All of administration's recommended amendments were brought forward last week.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up my email
Okay.
if you want, and we'll go through that.
So we're sitting at 24 if nothing happens. Greenfield.
For Greenfield.
Greenfield.
So because we haven't discussed them, why don't we start with quantum and we'll discuss it. And if you can remember what quantum asked, quantum asked for two,
Can you pull that?
let me just find that. Quantum asked for two specific amendments. Vernon, if you would find 6.5.1 in our MDP. And by the way, I'm just presenting them because that's, I think, our responsibility.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, let's do it. I
And
think
so-
that was a really good chat.
Yeah, so Quantum recommended the following policy additions to 6.5 in order to respect council's goal of increasing the non-residential tax base while ensuring viability for the developer. So that's the background. So in that background, and it's kind of based on their feasibility study as well, 6.5.1, they want to make an amendment here or an addition. And what they would like us to see, so currently it says employment areas will support the following land uses, light to medium industrial uses, business/office parks, and complementary commercial uses. Heavy industrial and residential uses are not supported. And so their amendment here is that they would like to switch this to the town may consider applications for mixed use or commercial retail uses in employment areas subject to the submission of an ASP or ASP amendment accompanied by a supporting market demand analysis. It'd be nice to just reflect as to why they want to go to that extent.
Because mixed use includes residential, does it not?
It does.
Which is just their sneaky way of getting it away from employment to residential.
yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
Yes, so of the 5 recommendations from Quantum, 4 were actually brought forward last week. This is the one that was not due to the fact that it conflicts with objective B in the same section, which states to protect the town's industrial and commercial land supply from pressure to convert it to other residential land uses to maintain and enhance the town's local employment base and economy.
Okay, so we'll leave that one.
I think so.
And their other one was 6.5.6.
The remainder of the
Was that
four
taken care of?
were already brought forth.
The incentivizing one? Okay, perfect. And then, let's go to, just give me half a second here.
Yeah, please. And thank you for being prepared with that, John.
Oh, good. Just give me half a second, I'll get the other one.
You wanna bring up-
Gary, yeah, we can stuff.
Marie.
Really is, what she said.
Should be in the council.
So when we pull up the township planning, I think this is the right one. So township planning, there was 7 or 8 recommendations. Carrie, I don't know, we only dealt with one of those, right?
Yeah, so Vernick has them
Yeah, I've got it as well.
and
Be great if.
yeah, and of those, planning was generally not supportive of any of them.
Okay. So Carrie's mentioned planning's not supportive of these. On the Deculta project, which would be that, southwest corner, I believe, of, Deculta, past Imperial Ridge there in 16th. They have given us, figure 4, that's your first one, to remove the future employment area and residential mixed use. Kind of be good if we had the mapping there as well. And to change it to potential residential infill areas and a ±1 acre parcel in the southwest corner, potential commercial infills area, the infill areas. So why would you not be supportive of that, Carrie?
Yes, so with regards to Deculta, the proposed changes to figure 4 and 5 are moving it out of Greenfield and into established communities. Because again, there is no servicing on the site, we would expect the things typical of Greenfield development, new roads, new mains, new lift stations were appropriate, new stormwater ponds were appropriate. And so that style and magnitude of development would not be considered infill, it'd be considered Greenfield, thus the proposed amendments are inappropriate.
Council, that was the first.
I kind of want to see the map.
Yeah. So it's down in the bottom left there, Verna.
Go just a touch lower. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So currently it's that brownish one and then a purple with the employment area.
Going, keep going, keep going. Middle left of that
Yeah.
lower left corner.
That's right.
You zoom in on that?
Future.
No, I think he was talking.
If I
Like
may,
gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
yeah, there's also currently in the ASP an employment node denoted down there. There was a school site as well as a commercial section. The plan that we have submitted sitting in our office currently, the employment section has shrunk from the original ASP requirement. So again, in this, typically not something we'd be supportive of under this MDP version in the efforts to try and protect that non-residential land.
I have to agree with the thought. I don't see an employment down there, guys.
We're talking, that's 16, we're talking, right?
Correct.
And
3-4.
Yeah.
I'll argue that I do see an employment capability there in that purple area. Because the density of that entire quarter section sits up there. That's a whole quarter section of development with no store whatsoever.
But those are all the 1 acre lots, aren't they?
No.
Further up
That's-
towards Royal Lake. These two here, you would have, give or take, well, 58 acres, 74 acres, give or take an acre. And you would have hundreds, probably 1,200 people right there. So it wouldn't be unto-do to have a small commercial gas station or whatnot on that corner. Like, it really wouldn't.
But the developers wanting in a different corner. I think that's the issue, is it not? It's just where that corner is.
Yeah, and so there is some flexibility with interpretation. If it moves, it's more to do with how is it impacting the transportation network, the servicing, and the general intent. there's typically wording, and I didn't look at it closely enough, so apologies for that. Our current MDP has some wording to the effect that there's some flexibility as to where that exact boundaries are. Because access from that wouldn't come from the east due to that pipeline corridor.
That's right.
Whether it's on the east side of the access road or the west side of the access road, kind of from my perspective, is neither here nor there.
Thought they wanted it over
So-
towards DeKalb.
Again, I would look at this, like we said earlier. We can have all our proposals we want, but the developer is gonna look at things and they're gonna bring what they know will work. This is what the developer would like to see.
No, they want to see what they submitted, and if they have to come back and amend the MDP, and because they have already got this file in planning.
Yeah.
Right, like I get why we have it as it is, because that was in the approved days.
Correct.
Like, that makes sense if that's what's in our document. It just kind of sucks, because we know they want it somewhere different, and we know it doesn't need to be as big, because we don't need school up there.
That's right.
But we do need to have something protected.
Mhm.
So, it's frustrating.
And it's employment, so we talk about having employment plans. So I mean, I could care less if they moved it to the west side, north side, east side.
It makes more sense at the three-way stop into Delta anyways, that's where all the traffic goes.
Carrie?
The hallmark of a great compromise is, no, if I may try and find an intermediate solution here in the interest of not derailing the MDP, but also not derailing an active application. The ASP does show the commercial in the southeast corner. There are a number of different changes to the ASP for that kind of triangle piece.
Mhm.
So the ASP amendment could come in concurrent with an MDP amendment. Should council deem it prudent, they could waive the fee. It could all go forward in lockstep. And then we'd amend the mapping concurrently if that were the will of council post public hearing.
Jonathan?
You know, and I was gonna say this, and I'm saying this as kindly as possible, so forgive me. Three active applications, right, from township. I'm gonna use a sporting analogy. I would hate to have the goalpost moved throughout the project. And the manner in which the new MDP is coming in kind of doesn't pass the smell test to me, which seems like we're moving the goalposts a little bit. I support this, the recommendations from township due to that very fact. These are active applications. They're working with what is currently presented in land that is currently, obviously, the fact that they're active applications. I think we should find that place of compromise because they are active applications. How we do that, I'm not sure, but I know if I were the developer and I put money into it, I've got my engineering team in it, I've got my architectural team in it, and I've got application going, and then all of a sudden we pass an MDP that, sorry, guys,
We do everything.
that doesn't work for me. So,
Doesn't the orange residential, the mixed use part of that orange, doesn't that allow for the type of commercial
that we're looking for.
that's gonna end up there anyways?
Yes, so the
Just
residential.
make it all orange?
Yeah, so the residential and mixed use would be subject to those policy areas of the document. They do offer some flexibility. The future employment is much more targeted and intentional
Mhm.
with trying to get that non-residential in that amount of area.
Because if I can say this from finding a place of compromise, I've had a chat with the township presenter because I let him know that the idea at the Diamond Ridge project where we added the commercial central business on their east property, he said, you know what, that makes sense for you guys to increase the downtown portion there, so let's work on that together. So they're willing to amend that. So there's got to be some give and take here on active files, in my opinion. I know we're just dealing with the DeKalb one here, but the third bullet is the Diamond Ridge project, where we, if you recall, we extended the commercial on their eastern ridge, and Braden and his team said, okay, we can work with that. So if they're willing to work with us, let's work with them.
I agree.
I can't argue with you, Jonathan. I hate it when we heard you moved the goalpost, you moved the goalpost.
Yeah.
Like it's the worst possible thing to hear. Especially when you talk about redoing stuff, so I would look for that compromise as well, Terry.
Mhm. Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'm not saying that I'm unsupportive of moving the commercial. I'm very unsupportive of it being classified as infill.
Mhm.
Just, I want to be very clear on that.
Yeah.
The other thing that was brought up earlier in the conversation that I'd like to kind of bring back to a fine point is that we have enough population to get to, or enough water to get to a population of approximately 10,000 people. With all of the files that we have open right now, we run out of water before we run out of approvals. And so what we do today in changing the goalpost potentially is what sets us up for the next 20 or 30 or 50, 60 years to utilize that water
Mhm.
effectively.
So I'm gonna ask if I may would it be amenable? Since we're not passing the ASP tonight, right? It's going back for October 1st or whatever,
MDP?
or MDP, pardon me. Would it be wise for council to direct administration to work with township planning regarding their recommendations to find what it would be a compromise to be presented at the October 1st meeting?
Spread up. Pulling the Terry, sure.
Yeah, I'm going to caution council about collecting evidence and discussions outside of public hearing, particularly on something that is brought forward as a town initiative. It's not developer driven. And I would hate for the public to feel that there are discussions or evidence being submitted that they're not privy to.
But I was just saying, because of the fact that this is already in public realm, these 7 or 8 recommendations. It's been presented to council. Council needs to have. The will of council needs to be very well identified. I think it has been that we want to find a point of compromise because they are active files. The question is, I don't have the expertise to do that.
The problem is that the next council might totally not approve their ASP and say, we want you to do the original ASP. That is mapped out like this.
Yeah.
So we have to stick with this because it's been approved. As sucky as it sounds.
What's been approved?
What's
We haven't approved it.
with the purple where it is.
Yeah, that hasn't been approved.
Yes, it
That
has.
was approved in the ASP.
Oh, that's the original.
That's the original ASP, and
Okay.
we might not be here in the next council, not say. We don't approve the new ones. Right?
Gotcha.
That's why you have to stick with what.
And
even though
yeah,
it's-
that's, I guess, was why I said potentially bringing them forward concurrently. It doesn't cause any time delays.
Yeah.
And if it's the cost that's a problem, then council could just make a motion to waive the fee.
That's.
I like-
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
That seems to be.
That to me sounds good. To go back to your one point, because I want to make sure, that is not infill, that's greenfield.
Correct.
You seem very concerned about the definition of infill. No, that's 100% greenfield.
Okay.
So what you proposed sounds like a very amenable solution. Do we want that in motion, or is that just a roll forward?
If council makes a motion to waive a future fee for an MDP to accommodate,
Existing applications.
however you want to word it, I'm trying to think in my head. But that would at least provide some clarity for the applicant and administration to move forward with whatever comes out in the next couple months. To
Good with it?
Well, they're active applications.
I-
That's a task.
I know. I just don't like going down this road with waiting fees, because we just did that for Colts Crossing.
But they don't fit the last MDP, we have just put in a new one.
Yeah.
But
No,
no.
I agree. No, I'm in favor of it. I'm in
Right.
favor of it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it out loud.
Yeah.
No,
like,
no, I hate it too.
I think
Because our planning is very expensive.
we're in a very unique position with this time overlap, so this is not gonna be something that continues. This is a This is the one-off where we're playing ball and trying to make everything as smooth as possible during a difficult time with lots of questions, right?
Yeah, thanks, your worship. Yeah, for this, I think we should have a tight motion that can direct administration, especially throughout the election period into the next one. So then at least we got certainty and clarity. With
I
my
would-
understanding, we're talking how many applications?
Anyone that has an ASP that has already been submitted. That will require an MDP amendment.
If I
in
may,
their ASP.
I would actually say that any MDP amendment on lot plan,
Yes.
Oh, you
waived.
give that specific?
yes,
So that would be
That's
the
great.
big for this
So
parcel.
why don't,
correct.
do we want that tonight or can you bring it back October first?
Let's make it tonight. Let's make it tonight.
Or, well, we gotta get the lot numbers.
And that,
Lot 1, block 1, plan 06140448.
Oh, okay.
and just to your worship, just to delineate it to, that would be separate from the MDP. So that would be a separate motion from.
Yep.
So we do that.
Gotcha.
October first.
Well, don't we have a meeting on the 17th?
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, we do.
Can we make it on the 17th?
Absolutely.
Could we make a motion to direct administration to make a motion?
To bring back
To bring back the motion?
the specific lots relevant to the waiver of potential MDPs.
So just to clarify, your worship, there won't be any report since we're on in publication process, but we can bring it back just up on the board.
Yep.
Here's the 3 or 4.
Please,
Yeah.
keep it tight, short and sweet.
Jonathan made that one.
So Jonathan's making that motion,
I support it.
all in favor? And Verna.
Sorry, I need the words.
We're gonna make the words.
You've
Council
lost
is
me here.
directing administration to provide specific lot numbers relevant to potential MDP amendments, to discuss
Conflicting.
waiving
Ongoing
fees,
ASPs.
the lot numbers.
We're ongoing.
for
ASP
ongoing-
amendments.
CSP
Yeah,
amendment.
for
Sorry.
ASP amendments.
That should cover it, I think. Yeah, here.
I think that's
Good,
it.
Yeah, and then.
and then I can come back, you can have a little 1-2 on it. Okay.
We need to
good.
talk about the refund.
Jonathan,
of the
anybody
waiving
that-
fees.
Oh, sorry.
Voting.
It's kind of an incomplete
Old business.
sentence.
And then I have two other motions that I emailed to consider.
Yep.
Once, Verna's ready to go back to the MDP, 6.7.3. One thing we've heard over the last, I don't know how many years from planning is having a bit more teeth on design guidelines and whatnot. And so 6.7.3, I'll wait till you're done. And then send you.
Sorry, I just have that exactly what, like, yeah.
Are we gonna vote on this before we move forward to any other ones?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Forgot about you.
I saw you put your hand up,
Yeah.
or were you waving at me?
I think just direction for administration, we're talking about a very specific when that comes back. Like, about where that employment area, those things, we're not talking about carte blanche allowed to amend 15 different policies in the MDP.
Well, that, we can
Right.
amend that motion when we get there next meeting.
Yeah,
So
so,
what I.
yeah, so the actual motion or motions can come forward in a variety of ways for some options. I'll
Yeah,
draft maybe.
this is just where we couldn't correct these maps. basically.
Yeah, maybe I'll just see if I can delineate a bit. So talking about amendments for second reading tonight. MDP comes back for final on October 1st. September 17th, we're talking about the new motion we just had up here, and this will just be on the board so council can make corrections, maybe a bit of discussion there too.
Not much to it, we want to get them passed and if we're ready for.
I just don't want a fee waive when somebody comes back with 500 amendments that
And that's what
has to wait
we're
through.
gonna see.
It's just.
It's
we
in
know
relation to the adjustments
map.
made in the new MDP.
Yeah, the maps, errors.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
So is Heather gonna vote?
Heather, are you voting?
Back to the beach.
She's not
On
in.
this
got
one
it.
in front of us?
You're
On
good,
this
yeah,
one? I thought you
You
said we
bet.
already voted.
yeah, we did.
So
Making sure you're there.
Didn't hear Heather.
Okay,
Is that a yes?
yes.
Thank
That was
you.
unanimous.
Okay, next
Next one
item. Here we go.
is 6.7.3. And this is within infill development and something we heard in the last year and a half at the different, so, we're moving on from these ones.
Okay.
Page 62.
So probably page 72 there.
I think she's six.
Yeah.
So they say?
Yes, you got it. So one of the things we constantly heard is that the nature of what's getting put in place in infill should be reflective of what's already in the community, right? So one of the things you'll note, it says in 6.3, the town should develop infill design guidelines. And then it goes to very specific prescription about what the infill design guidelines will outline. So currently it says the infill design guidelines will outline ways to address sensitive transitions between different uses and densities through landscaping buffers and site planning to mitigate impacts on neighbors. So what I'd like to add in there is just 3 specific words. To address sensitive transitions between different uses and densities through landscaping buffers, site planning, and architectural design guidelines. And we'd be very specific in that realm, because this is something that Carrie mentioned in the steering committee. Like if we have infill that allows for somebody to put in a fourplex, well, we want it to look like something very specific.
Mhm.
So if the developer's coming in with infill and we say, this is what we want, we finally will get some teeth in our land use file about those architectural design guidelines and what they have to be. So that's what I'd like to do.
That's a great addition.
Put her in.
So you have this before you have the piece of bylaw.
Because this identifies that infill design guidelines, and correct me if I'm wrong, those will be identified in the land use bylaw, correct?
Yeah.
So let's make it very tight about what we want. And by the way, I'm gonna make this comment. That will help us to have some controls so we don't end up with what we did on Second Ave.
Yeah.
In Black Knives, which we heard multiple times residents were not pleased with.
Correct. Cindy.
I just worry you have architectural controls has a very set meaning in my mind, meaning a very expensive plan by an architect for a whole neighborhood. And if you're talking about infill, that might be smaller, like 2 lots. And then we always have it come back to us. We get phone calls, I'm probably sure all the time, from people saying, I have architectural controls and my neighbor's doing this and they're not allowed to, and aren't you guys in charge?
Or LUB architectural designs, that's the difference.
Yeah, so we have to,
So that's why I want them in the LUB.
that's very different than like a developer-driven architectural
And I don't
controls.
want a developer driven.
Okay, but we're using the same word, so there might be a different.
Maybe.
Carrie.
I'm supportive of the proposed amendment from Councillor Gordon. I think that that's a great addition. And it can be done in a more developer-esque where, you know, thou shalt have these 4 colors, or like our historic downtown design guidelines, thou shalt have these 4 colors. Or it can be more broad where it talks about avoiding flat facades in terms of having differentiating setbacks, having differentiating roof lines for a townhouse, having the same quality of facade on the rear that faces a park space as is provided on the front, those kind of things. So it does offer still a lot of flexibility in that wording as a goal and a direction for the town.
Love it.
So is architectural controls the right term?
I have architectural design guidelines.
Oh,
Yes, sir, different.
you said not controls, okay.
Yeah. Control.
Okay.
Guidelines?
Yeah.
Love it, Jonathan.
Yeah,
That's good.
Love it.
Just based on what we heard last year.
You're 100% right.
You good on that, Heather?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good one, John.
Next one.
And last but not least, thanks, Heather. I'm thinking outside the box on 6.8.4. The way that we have this mixed use, we talked about the opportunity for commercial and residential to be put together. And right now, the way it's written, residential uses in commercial area must be provided in the form of mixed use, multi-story buildings that, and Article A, we just lost it, says that they're located above, notice the next phrase, or behind ground-oriented commercial. So not necessarily connected to, right? So And this, the reason I'm bringing this forward, public, I've got to be careful. Yeah, I probably shouldn't go into great detail, but thinking outside the box, what I'd like to see here, because it does allow for a ground-oriented commercial use with potential residential uses behind it. I would like to see a little bit more of a comprehensive structure, like our comprehensive dwelling. And it might be creating a new policy, or it might be creating a new article here that would in some way allow us to amend this section to encourage a comprehensive residential and commercial development, similar to section 6.13 of the current Turner Valley land use bylaw. So if we have somebody that says, you know, I've got 5 acres of land, I'm in a mixed use area. Right now, the way it's written, anything residential is multi-story. So if it's gonna be behind, why wouldn't we allow the residential to be ground floor as well? So that's from a comprehensive dwelling.
So you can have
Perspective.
commercial in the front end and,
Uh-huh.
and closing in the back.
Yeah. That's something unique.
Karen.
Sorry, I just wanted some clarification or to provide clarification. I don't know where I'm going with this just yet. The way 6.8.4 is currently written, it is contemplated within one building, and the intent that you would like is so that it can be contemplated in
A separate
multiple
building
buildings,
behind.
similar to the comprehensive section in the Turner Valley land use bylaw.
Yeah. But from a mixed use perspective. It's thinking outside the box. So let's say, for instance, here in this corner, in this lot here, somebody comes in and we, for whatever reason, they're like mixed use. You know, this area could use something that has a commercial element to it, but I don't want to build my building to that. So then they have some villas in behind, just something unique.
I think I've seen something similar in
I have too. Where did you see it?
in Canmore, I want to say.
Canmore does that often. Yeah, it's quite unique. And I think it's just something different.
Okay, what do you want to say?
So I'm not quite sure, Terry, would it need to be a brand new article like 6.8.5,
Everything.
where mixed use may allow for a comprehensive residential and commercial development and leave it at that?
Through the mayor, my concern with doing the amendment on the fly is I don't want to create conflicts with other policies within the MDP. And given that 6.8.4 is currently a must, we would also likely need to reevaluate that.
Yeah, and I'd be okay with reevaluating that as a may, you know, I would think it, and that's why it could be C, right? So if we say residential uses in commercial areas, may be provided in the form of, may be provided in the following. Article A. Mixed use, multi-story building. That is located above or behind ground-oriented commercial uses. And then have Article B, or a comprehensive residential and commercial development. I think that would still fit the objective. I can has a lot of that actually. A lot of it.
I love it.
I think I saw that in Collingwood. That's where I got my idea from when we lived in Ontario.
And when it comes to so that one stays.
Because potentially it could really might hit the target of economic growth and tourism.
Just love the whole business residential.
Same,
Like I love the new building in Peterbilt. Like
Oh.
with the 3 little units. and
100%.
I love that. And that is right in line with that, downtown area here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like,
Like redevelopment.
I love it. Just love that building. And then the one that they had planned with,
I can make that.
what was
I have
it,
to log in.
the new Irish pub that fell
Oh,
through?
yeah.
That, look.
Oh, with the
until they
courtyard
found
in the
out,
middle?
but yeah,
Oh, brilliant.
that would have been incredible. down there.
Brilliant.
Incredible.
It's just the cost
It
was
was the utilities.
Yeah.
Connections, it's a couple $100,000 for them to get. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it wasn't feasible. They did a great job upgrading, like, I was in the Farm Savings stuff today for a checkup and beautiful.
Yeah.
Finishes, the building looks incredible, parking lot, brand new facade on the whole thing, like, they don't half-ass their stuff.
No.
It does a really good job.
Yeah.
So we kept the roof line all the same.
Yeah, they didn't like drop it and
Yeah,
like just make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, I was so sad when that one fell through. Like in that, that lot
The
was
way they had the
perfect.
initial drawings done,
All business
So
below
steady.
and then all.
the way they had
apartments
the
there.
facade set up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
that would
pretty-
have
They've
been really
really-
something nice.
Yeah, they've done a lot to bring back our downtown.
Yeah.
You know, it's not empty, but.
And this would lend a hand to that.
What I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
So in our commercial where we allow that mixed use, boom, do something special, do something unique.
So are we getting that written?
I think Carrie was writing something that. You understand where my
Yeah,
intent is?
so what I have so
Carrie?
far, and I'm just trying to figure out how to get it to burn.
Take your time,
You can say it if you want till you get in.
because that's the end of mine.
So 6.8.4 be changed to
We're replacing the whole statement.
ish.
Okay.
So residential uses in commercial areas. And I'm gonna leave it as a must, I think, and then it can be an either or. If you follow me here.
Yep.
Must be provided in the form of a mixed-use multi-story building that residential uses are located above or behind ground-oriented commercial uses.
Yeah.
Or B, a comprehensive mixed-use development with residential and commercial unit uses that are integrated with a comprehensive mixed-use development with residential and commercial uses on the same parcel that is integrated with the surrounding community.
Perfect.
Okay.
Are you able to break in? Is it
That
not,
makes
you're gonna
sense.
have to
Yep.
say it again
Absolutely.
slower.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, Teams link.
It's just in OneDrive.
Oh, I can check it.
Yeah, I just shared it to you in OneDrive.
Yay, let's do that. Which OneDrive area am I in? Can I just chuck it into the?
You know, if you
council
share,
prep?
if you share it through Teams, like share a document through Teams.
I can't do that while I'm
With-
in a
with-
meeting.
yeah.
Oh, you can't do that.
Not while I'm sharing screens.
Gotcha.
Is that, can I just put in the council prep folder?
Sure.
Sorry.
And just a minor typo, story for that would be with an EY ending. I think it actually is either or.
Nope, you're right.
All right, we,
Okay,
They're
it should be in there now, Verna.
That's just. Yeah. So more information. Very.
Oh, that works. Does that make sense, Karen? Now that you've read it through?
I think I'm comfortable with that. In light of not having reviewed it in the greater context.
Yeah.
Caveats.
Yeah, because when I was reading through the objectives, I think it fit. Because we want that mixed use encouraged, right?
I'm not opposed to the intent by any means.
Yeah. Because it's like you said, you saw it in Canmore, I saw it in Collingwood many years ago. It's
I guess the challenge for me is always working with the developers, and everybody, particularly right now, wants freehold properties. And
It'll be HOA.
condoing a residential mixed use may present complications where it's cleaved and calved off.
Yeah.
Which then is that meeting the intent? Maybe, because it was designed comprehensively to begin with.
Yeah, I prefer the freehold option, but, you know, I get why the developers are asking for that. You don't want to pay those extra HOA fees on top of all your other expenses, so. Are we good, council? That's my motion.
Yep. You open enough, you think you're good?
Yeah.
Hey, Heather, you good?
I guess so.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Carried.
Cindy,
That's all I have.
you have a couple?
I'll go Hazel or Brendan.
No, I was in favor, I was good with what you guys had, you guys tackled all the major points.
Heather, do you have anything that you want to bring up before we go to Cindy?
That's all I really want.
So we're leaving it in.
She is shaking her head no.
Okay, good. Cindy?
No, I was just,
Still to discuss that.
I wanted clarification on density. Other than that, I really am happy with the report, so. And I am happy with what others are bringing forward.
We'll go to Hazel very quick. Yeah. Hazel?
Terry, were any of the Foothills counties recommendations brought into the MVP?
Thank you so much, Councillor Martin, for bringing that forward. I neglected to tell everybody the good news at the onset of the meeting. The Deputy Director of Planning from Foothills County got back to me this morning, having reviewed the amendments from last week. I kind of begged and pleaded with him yesterday at IMC. And outside of one clarification that I needed to provide on a section number that changed between drafts, they are satisfied with the amendments from last week, meeting their comments.
Cool. Very good.
That's very good.
Yeah.
On that note, I will say we had a very productive INC meeting yesterday. Signed off on just about everything. So fire agreement, mutual service, whole nines, very amenable, and we talked about the IDP and prioritizing that next round for next council. And a joint letter to transportation, potentially to just bring them very, very aware of the traffic concerns that we may be bringing forth with the interest in development. And where are they at and what are they looking for?
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah,
That's good.
okay, we're gonna move on to Cindy.
Yeah, off-site levies, Alberta Transportation made that recommendation to include something about potentially using off-site levies to fund transportation infrastructure. Did we address that?
So through the mayor, no, we did not. Offsite levies are administered under the separate by laws at this point. Reference is made in section 7.1.7 and 7.10.9. We could consider adding that developers will be required to construct and pay for all or a portion of the service connection and oversizing costs associated with new development. Offsite levies and cost sharing agreements will be established to ensure proportionate contributions from benefiting lands as policy 7.1.2.
All right. So my only concern is we did have like this one about the town 7.10.9. The town may explore the use of offsite levies to fund recreation facilities. So if we have an all-encompassing one, and I like what you just said, then we don't need that one. Like it's just kind of a one, like why just mention recreation, but not emergency and not transportation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so reference to the OSL bylaw is made in 7.17. So just scroll down here there, thank you. In regards to the annual review, if you want something with a little bit more specificity, like I said, I did draft that potential amendment that developers are required to pay for their servicing and offsite levies or cost sharing will be established.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, yeah, I'm happy with that amendment, but then I'd also say, let's just remove the recreation one. Right, it's unnecessary, like it's
It would be redundant at
Yeah.
that point.
that's what I'm talking about.
But if you
Have you never read a plan? All redundancies.
But yeah, but just like, that's like one of the very minor, very last plans that we'll ever get to have offsite levies, so why mention it?
That's an aspirational document.
Okay.
And if you take it out, then someone said, you can't
Well,
spend
no,
that
we have
money on
it,
that.
we have it right there, so it's redundant,
But,
so,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, you like it?
so where was the one that you recommended, where were you gonna put that?
My recommendation would be to add it as policy 7.112.
Okay.
At a new section.
Sorry, my computer's decided that it wants to be very, very slow.
Got it here too, Carrie, so. Save them all.
Perfect.
Cheese. Cheese.
Pushing it.
To be transformed measures from.
Yeah.
Cheese.
Benefiting lands or
I don't got it.
benefiting
Anyone.
residents?
Center message. Like you told.
Yeah.
That's not-
Just a question mark there.
Yeah, so offsite levies and cost sharing agreements are benefiting land. So
Right,
if there is
Yeah.
oversizing done to the benefit of other lands.
Yeah.
Or offsite levies are done again per project typically tied to land.
okay.
And the levy will state that, right?
Good to have. So I say, can we add that? My motion would be to add that and then delete 7, 10. 9. Recreational,
7.1 you mean?
710. 7.10.9.
So if I may, I would actually recommend leaving 7.10.9. So the town may explore the use of offsite levies to fund recreation facilities, where recreation facilities aren't actually covered in proposed section 7.12.
Oh, that's,
Leave it.
okay, yeah. No.
Let's leave it all.
And that kind of gets. All right. We mentioned about how we are running out of water before we run out of current applications even. Would it be good to have, I know we've got a new report. If you remember my notice of motion a month or so back for January of next year, talking about water allocation. So I'm assuming that there's gonna be something in that report that would make us want to amend the MDP, but is it good to even just have a simple something in here saying that developers may be may be expected to provide water license or cover the costs of providing additional water license? Or do we want to wait for that report?
I'm just leaving everybody.
Well, it just
But
like,
you're right.
we are a town that has limits. Like, we're not population capping, like saying, oh, this is, like, we say it all the time, but we're not like hard fasting it like Okotoks tried to do. But it is a foreseeable future thing.
Vernon and Carol. Oh, Heather.
Councilor Thompson.
Um,
Go ahead, Heather.
were you thinking to add something onto this motion or shall we vote on this one?
Oh, yeah, good thought.
We'll vote on this one.
Thanks, Heather.
All in favor?
That's funny.
I,
Okay.
Thank you. So through the mayor to Councillor Holiday, the cohort model in the MDP currently predicts 7,443 people by 2051, which would indicate that we have a sufficient amount of water from the numbers provided from Shrek. Additional license capacity could be addressed in the next MDP or when the water allocation policy or the infrastructure master plan comes forward and identifies further refinements that could be made to the plan. Again, it's a living plan, so we can definitely incorporate things later on.
That's good.
Anything else?
Better run against me.
Anything else
Got it
coming
on the table.
I think we're good.
Put my name in that.
In Western Wales more, or south.
It was?
Wasn't.
Yeah, no, I.
You good, Cindy?
Colts Crossing. Quantum mentioned the issue of highway access to those employment lands that you're going through mixed use that could potentially be even residential into. I do kind of agree with them on this one, that it's sectioned off. And to me, we did that because it was easy. But to me, it makes more sense to have the whole running against both quarter sections along the bottom. Because we already know Colts Crossing, their ASP to have coming forward already has residential down farther into that employment, that purple line anyways. So to me, I just wonder about making like the bottom 2/3 of those two quarter sections full purple. So then you go from commercial highway in commercial into purple. I know this is a very last minute change and I don't know what kind of discussions have been had with the quarter section, the east quarter section next to Colts. But to me, it doesn't make sense to have traffic going through mixed use that potentially could be residential into employment lands tucked away in a corner.
Yeah, so a challenge without a defined minimum non-residential component is that mixed use areas are at risk of becoming really residential.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Because efficacy of developing, marketing and selling. Typically municipality wouldn't want a large lot of non-residential between the residential communities, right? So placing that employment area on the south quarter was to enable it to kind of go downwind and on the outskirts of town. There's the potential to have the boundary roads of the town go along the south, along the east side of that property. We're working with the county on some potential options there. One might be annexing the land, right? Which we've talked about in the MDP, so that they're actually town lands with the town boundary to access those employment lands. An arterial road is expected along the south from government to provide servicing within that area. So I guess, again, the concern is protecting those non-residential lands.
Yeah, I definitely don't I'm not asking for less.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I was just wondering if it was made more sense to have it spread out, because I'm worried. Because I'm pretty sure that'll end up, that east quarter section will be residential, because it makes sense having an arterial road on the south going into the employment lands versus, like, do you know what I'm saying with spreading it out along the south? I don't know if you have a map of figure 5.
I'm pulling it back up to look at it.
Yeah. And yes, I absolutely agree on having it downwind and on the corner of town.
So, allow additional flex on kind of the top half of the southern half of Cologne. And then charging the western quarter that says future residential mixed use with being employment lands.
Not all of it, just part of the southern. Like,
Go cut it off with your finger.
well, I don't know where they're proposed, they already have residential going down into here, don't they?
There's a few lots down in there.
So, yeah, I was thinking like that full area up, like 1/3 of it up is orange and the bottom is purple. But if you're saying that an arterial road's just gonna come along here, so it doesn't matter, then that's fine. I just was thinking about this all being residential here. Right?
Yeah, and so I guess I would think about some larger centers where you do go past residential to get to commercial. It happens all over the place. They're in separate quarters. The likelihood that there's boundary conditions between them is going to be pretty high. Again, trying to work with best planning principles for employment lands that might create nuisances, being on the edge of town and downwind, both very advantageous.
No, if you're not concerned, I just know they brought it up as you don't have it connected to the highway. That doesn't make sense. And so I wanted it discussed because I get that.
I'd cut off 80 acres and leave up top orange and then put the bottom 80 as purple. So then you're never gonna have a full quarter section of commercial. Employment stuff.
And then come back to us with the same.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, but we're not gonna end up adding employment, because I don't want to lose employment on there, but it already looks like they are. They're trying to infringe on that, so I'm concerned getting more off of the west quarter section right there
Mhm.
on the south tail of that.
Yeah.
That's where the bypass is. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
actually fine
lots
with
of
the
them.
way it is.
but yeah,
Oh,
if you think an arterial road's good, then
That's where the highway's gonna go, right there.
Have you seen that?
no, I'm just guessing. It makes the most sense. Like we're looking at it geographically, when if you just turn straight down, they're gonna build that bypass right there. That'd be my guess.
Go through the county.
Question would be, that's 7, mobile 22 pickup.
anyhow,
Okay, one more, Susan.
the black and white on septic and water wells, this is very minor and for a few people, but I just worry about secondary suite being allowed or not. Is that going to be an issue or is it not?
So in reference to 722 and 732,
Yeah.
so 722, new potable water wells must not be utilized except where already granted and authorized. So this policy was included to meet objective B, where the responsibility to manage water resources to maintain current and future infrastructure is stated. The town is all within the Sheep River watershed in the Bow River Basin. And we share an aquifer for the large part. So one, there's currently no provincially monitored groundwater observation well network wells in Diamond Valley. And the thought process there is because we all draw from the same water resources, being able to manage it more centrally is of a benefit to the town and its citizens to ensure that water stability moving forward. The basics that the MDP was drafted on is that council wants urban development in an urban municipality. And for clarity, like you can have a cistern for water, you can have a septic tank. The 722 and 732 just cuts out water wells and septic fields.
Yeah, so my concern is if you have a country residential that wants to have a secondary suite, but they don't have a high enough capacity well, they want to do a new one, or they need a new septic because it's 200 yards from their old septic and the grades don't work. And that then they're not allowed to do a secondary suite because they're not allowed a new well or a new water, or does it
You would be on cistern and tank.
really? Okay. So you wouldn't allow it, even though the main house uses something.
The intention is over time to take properties that are on fields and wells off and integrate them into the municipal system as an urban municipality.
Right, but
So
we
we
do
don't-
have areas
yeah.
that are never gonna get serviced, and we know that.
So a middle ground that council might want to consider is the ARP that could better contemplate those
Right.
conditions for servicing and versus the cost of expanding the network on a more finite scale.
So you could end up with an ARP that you can't circumvent the MDP though.
Correct. So you would have to amend the MDP in order to enable an ASP that would allow for wells and fields.
Terry,
Uh,
just a quick question. I thought the government itself was starting to disallow septic fields. Is that not something that's coming down the pipes?
No.
That is largely out of my realm of expertise. They may have increased the standards, something of that
Yeah,
nature
I
is
think there's
sitting in the
something
back of
that
my
had gone
brain.
on. Yeah, so I think there's something there that I read about maybe higher standards or something for septic fields. Septic fields versus septic tank, two different things, so. Yeah, I just would rather not mess around with this. We've got people that are currently in those areas that weren't allowed to move forward with any of that in the past, and so they'd be pretty PO'd if all of a sudden their neighbor can go forward and do that. And I think we still do have to keep our eye on the ball for especially water.
Comments?
Nope.
The 50-year MFIA. Are we good on that? Are we doing something other municipalities aren't? This was questioned by Quantum saying 25. I just want your take on this. 50 reasonable.
Yeah, so that's one of those, it depends. The government of BC has a new tool out. It's pretty nifty, and of course I've closed it now and lost it, but it's a cost calculator for infrastructure and the cost borne by the municipality. Pretty cool. It can project pretty far out. I haven't played with it a ton, I'll admit, because I was only introduced to it last week. The standard, I will say, is closer to that 25-year mark. If I'd have my notes that would reopen, there we go. That 20 to 30-year mark, which balances the need to capture the longer term fiscal implications with the shorter term construction impacts. When we get into 50 years, there's a lot more uncertainty just inherently. Who saw COVID? Who had COVID on their bingo card? I didn't. So when we look at demographic trends, policy changes, how technology changes how we live, those kind of things, the 50-year timeframe was included as a potential method to combat under accounting for long-term infrastructure maintenance and replacement. So if life cycle costing and replacement schedules are integrated well into an MFIA, and that's kind of top of mind moving forward, I don't have as much of a concern about it. It was mostly to really highlight the importance of that maintenance and replacement portion. That yes, your development may be bringing on houses and taxation and population, and it may have a large effect on emergency services, or it might have no effect. It might have a large effect on recreation users. It might have a small effect. Those are more of the short term. But again, that linear infrastructure in front of a house is just such a massive portion of our operating and capital. It's our entire capital budget most years. When we look at roads, sidewalks, gutters, water, sanitary, storm, per meter, it's really, really expensive. And so just trying to bring top of mind that those capital replacement costs are being factored for appropriately in the model. 50 years would be great because I think it helps us project a little bit further, but again, the level of uncertainty does increase substantially.
So I guess my question is, are other people asking this? 50 years, is this a normal, reasonable ask? Like, I get why we want to, because I know you don't replace a single water line or sewer line in the first 25 years for sure. But I get the methodology, or like why we want it, but is it a normal ask for a town like us to ask for 50 years?
20 to 30 would be more of an industry standard.
But you guys are recommending 50 and you're comfortable with 50.
I'm comfortable with 50 because again, it brings it more top of mind to council of the day. The assumptions will be outlined. The variability goes up. I'm fully admitting that, right? A limiting factor right now in our MFIAs is the reliability of town data, to be frank. So as we move forward and our data gets a little bit better, the calculations and refinements will get a little bit better. We do what we can with assumptions. But I think that even if the assumptions are held between 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it just helps council of the day see what the potential impact is on the next generation or 2 generations from now. What are you leaving for them? If you build at 10 units per hectare versus 30 units per hectare.
For sure, okay. Another point was, town-owned lands on Calta below Everwood is labeled as open space. Which I full well expect something more will happen on that land, so I hate. You might have a reason for labeling it town-owned, but it just to me sets it up a whole bunch of future landowners in Everwood for disappointment to find out the town's allowed to build something on it and it's not gonna stay parked forever.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, you let.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we should.
a number of your comments have highlighted some current and ongoing challenges with the Oculton Coupling Flats area redevelopment plan. Ex-council, take note. The town-owned lands under former Everwood, now proposed Diamond Ridge, are a combination of proposed environmental reserve and municipal reserve in the development concept plan under that ARP. And so where we are looking at large banks of town-owned land, presumably we have a purpose for them moving forward to be taking that 10% or whatever our number is in the end. Recreation.
So we're saying with this this MDP that we're gonna be leaving it recreation because it makes up the MR. Because we're not gonna be asking everybody else for MR in the ARP, is that?
Yeah, so the ARP has this set aside as MR.
Yeah, that just sounds like we're gonna have a whole lot of residents mad at us. When
Yeah,
we do
we're-
something with it.
R3,
Yeah.
I'm saying it.
And again, I would say that because we want that cohesiveness between our plans, that at such a point that the ARP comes forward for amendment, that it be a,
We'll deal with it then.
yeah, that it be a
Okay.
lockstep and that the MDP and the ARP are amended concurrently.
Alright,
R3.
R3, I think so.
I'm good with
We've got
R3.
bigger problems. I guess.
R3. Oh.
Yeah, alright.
Good dog park area.
And that goes back to my concern, like, I don't like this that we've got open space labeled on all the private, like golf course consider open space. It's not open space. It's privately owned. You don't go on there unless you've got a tea time, right? Like this, these maps are problematic that way.
Yeah.
But my biggest problem, I think, is, that figure 4. We just like axe it and say we want, what is it, 15%, 25% growth from infill and 15% of commercial growth from commercial infill, because that's all that map's telling us. As well as some dates that we have no control over because that's developers. Like you have somebody with an active application, yeah, we put it up here as growth 15 to 30 years from now. But somebody else that's also got an application, it says they're, 10 years from now, like we're picking numbers. There's no background methodology. I think it detracts away from figure 5, which is our main one. And all we're trying to say here is we want commercial infill and residential infill at this percent, and that's our goal. And the rest are all just guesses. So to me, and the whole light shades and dark shades and why some large lots aren't considered good for infill, potential infill, but some are, like, there were so many problems for me that I'm just like, why are we, are you guys in love with this map? Can we just delete it?
So through the mayor, figure 4
That's what it is.
is included in there as the logic to get to figure 5. So the logic of we want to grow from our existing infrastructure outward, we want to densify on our existing infrastructure. So that's the primary reason that it's in there, is so that there isn't just a leap of, well, where in the heck did you get figure 5 from? Where did those where did that come from out of the hat? So it's that intermediary step of the assumptions and the logic that gets us to figure 5, which, like you said, is actually the implementation piece of what the rest of the plan refers back to.
Yeah. I don't get how it builds on it, but I guess I'm not a planner, so. To me, it's just makes it more convoluted. But if you say that there's an important planning thing, I'll trust that.
I think the gentleman that spoke, Mark Smithdorf, he called it a fantasy.
Oh,
Oh, that guy, yeah.
But you liked it.
But he liked it.
But he liked it.
all the years.
Yeah.
You did like
Yeah,
it.
I don't know, I just find if I was a developer and owned a piece of land and you tell me it's, 20 years out. And I plan to bring it in, that's why I don't like labeling numbers on that. And putting them, like, to me, that's. Because then the council of the day that's new and just comes and says, well, you're not supposed to be here for another 15 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't laughing at you. I was
Yeah,
just having fun.
I don't know.
I'm sure.
It might be a planner thing that I don't get, but to me, it just, the only thing it's telling me is we want infill at,
This rate.
15% of our growth.
Yeah.
From that and 25% residential, and then it's really up to the developers to decide how many years it's gonna take.
They can pound it out.
And I didn't like that you have some of the old Royal Light big lots that, but we're not expecting infill from those, but we're expecting it from, my mom's duplex condos area, like that's considered infill, some of it didn't make sense either. So that's why I was like, just ask the whole thing and we don't have to fix the problems.
I'll go to Heather. And Heather's got some comments.
And like something
Heather, go ahead.
that I don't get from planners.
Hi, it's a strategy, and yeah, it might not make. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's just a pie in the sky and some direction to what we want to move forward with in the future. We can't predict the future. We can't even predict who's going to be here tomorrow. So I'm fine with it. Might be a pie in the sky thing, but it's what we talked about at the committee, on the committee side, and what we wanted to see in the future. And it might be a kind of a fairy tale, but it's fine.
I guess I'd be happy if I could just say, can I make a motion that you look at it and see if there's any way to display it that it doesn't look like it's the duplicating or taking away from the next one? I don't want to change it, but just maybe think about it. Is there any way to present the exact same information, like a chart or in a statement, so that you can only have the one, but still, whatever planning information you need on that map Like, just look at it again. That's all I'm saying.
Just take away the years. Get that.
Well, then, like whatever the point of that document, that map is.
It's the pie in the sky.
Yeah, but the next one's good and it makes sense to me.
There's one here, that's right.
Figure 5 is good. It's the figure 4 that I have the problem with all the lights and the darks and the numbers that might have methodology and calculations behind it that I don't understand, but they're not stated, so it looks like we're just throwing them on there.
I think a good illustration is Cindy's point. If you scroll up just a little bit, we have commercial infill, 15% of commercial growth next 20 years. And then to the east of that, in a brand new development, we have that next 10 years. So I understand it's a hope for, but it's confusing.
Yeah, I know. Just take a second look. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
All right, go take a look.
That motion.
I don't know what to do with that motion, sorry.
So
Well, is there something really important in this figure that I don't understand from a planning perspective, because I'm not a professional planner, that you need in the MVP?
So I guess there are a few things in it that when I go back to the requirements of an MDP in the MGA, like at the very least, you want to meet the minimum requirements of the MGA. So we must address the future land use, which would be given in figure 5, the manner of and proposals for future development in the municipality. So potentially figure 5, figure 4 offers to me more context on that. The coordination of land use, future growth patterns, and other infrastructure with adjacent municipalities if there's no IDP. The provision of required transportation systems, either generally or specifically within the municipality. And the provision of municipal services and facilities, either generally or specifically. So one of the main things that figure 4 gives me when I look at this again is I see where growth is being targeted. I see the sequence of growth given by the years. I see general circulation patterns through some of the arrows, which are all absent in figure 5. And so is there a better way to show it? Possibly, yes. I like, there's always different ways to show things. Can I turn that around for October 1st? Likely not.
Okay.
So if that's something that is still a niggle and we want to bring forward for consideration with further amendments in February, after maybe more discussion at a cow or something of how to workshop that and present it.
Can we
Better.
just get rid of the light colors? Like that, I guess, if anything that bothers me, it's probably the light colors.
The yellow?
Like, especially in the residential area. Why is there
It's just like.
those? Like, how are you?
To show where exists.
Yeah, like, I think they picked them wrong. Like you have, that there's no growth coming from an area that doesn't even have houses, but it's listed as residential. You don't think growth's coming from like in behind Windsor or Willow Ridge.
Well,
There's
no,
not even a house there, but that's not considered part of our infill or our future growth.
it says right there, residential infill, 25% of growth in the next 20 years. I mean, that's a projection of like, that's the area that is currently occupied with housing, right? So their projection is that.
Yeah,
there will be
but then
infill.
Royal Light, why would the Royal Light not have? You got 50, 60, 100-foot lots. Right? Why is that
I'd like
not?
to interrupt if I could.
Sure.
I just don't see this as being a mountain we want to die on. This is like
Yeah,
starting to get too
understood.
deep into the weeds again,
Mhm.
and I'm fine with it. I don't know how the rest of council feels, but
Yep,
like,
we're good.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Yeah, we're probably going down that hole.
Yep, we're done. Gotta keep it
You're-
off.
Look at your figure 5 and just smile.
Yeah.
And then don't ever look at figure 4 again.
That's fun.
All right, so no motion on that
Why, we still have to make motion.
one. Okay, all right, are we wrapped up on our bylaw 2025-112 MDP?
I am.
What do
Is
you
there a
got?
motion we need to make though?
Just want to clarify then, your worship. So if you go with second, then you're good with density as is?
So we want to keep it at the 24 guys?
I'm good with it.
15 and 24.
It's there and it can change, it can fluctuate. It's gonna make okay.
Yeah. 'Cause I'd like to put that at 20 with the new calculation, removing the MR, because that goes higher, right? So we leave it at 24,
And keep the MRP.
but we remove the MR from the calculation, it increases the actual units per acre. So we gotta be very careful.
Yeah, leave
If
the
we
MRP.
drop it, if
This
we
was
leave the MR
originally, we were supposed to have the beginning, I thought we were done.
in, we never
Yeah.
voted on.
No,
We
you all
talked
said
the whole
you were
time
good.
about
yeah.
this, so.
Yeah.
No, we were talking into the.
But I'm, if you go 24 and leave the MR in, it's the same. As if you took 20 and took it out, then you're increasing. Wouldn't that be correct?
It increases, I think you're.
Makes it denser.
backwards, it makes it denser.
If you leave it at 24 and then take 12, sure.
Okay.
Which is,
Yeah,
which is
so-
greater.
So if we have area minus employments minus ER, which is what we have.
Yep.
And so my super generic quarter section, I'm just looking at that slide, it's at 21.
Yeah.
And then if we take out MR, and are we discussing PUL or just MR?
What percentage is PRO?
15.
Usually somewhere between 0 to 7.
That just makes it more.
And
dense,
so,
does it not?
so if you remove those, then your density would go from 21 to 25. And so to have the same building in the current methodology versus the future, you'd have to up the number. You'd actually go from like 24 to 30. So if you kept it at 24, remove those other things, you're actually functionally lowering the density.
Yes, to 20, probably to 20-ish.
A little bit lower probably.
Okay, go 20.
I'd go 30 and then remove it.
Opposite end.
Well, that's. End up with the 24 that you currently have, you're back for 30.
No, you're backwards.
Yeah.
If you remove it, you increase the density.
If you remove MR and PUL, you would want to go to 30 to maintain the same 24 under the current methodology. Give or take. Because it depends on the specifics of the land.
So if you don't like the 24, your easy way to do it is to remove MR. And that effectively reduces it down to. But we were recommended 30 in all of our meetings, so this is backtracking on the fiscal responsibility.
That's the key, is the fiscal responsibility. Small town feel, just weighing that in. Lot sizes, the whole. Financial component. Future for the town also is, and that's really what every other community is struggling. At this point, we do.
Thanks, your worship. I'm just making it simple. See those three models, right? This model one is what we call status quo, AKA market driven. Model two, you're lowering it a bit. Model three, you would up it. So before you were 2.5. Now I'm hearing it's going down to like 1.5-ish. Good way to think of it. So now you're more status quo. Developer driven. Market.
Can't be status quo. It's got to be a little bit better. So Cindy's probably right, and a 30 going back, steps to a 24. After all is said and done. That's ambitious, mind you.
Looking at what,
Yeah, well-
Calgary's at 24 and they recommended other communities at 20. And you can't even be looking at anything lower than that. Right? That's why I was mad at the 50.
And all of our diagrams we saw tonight were in the 20 and 24 though.
Yeah, so depending on the methodology, so under the current methodology of calculating density, we had the super generic quarter section at 21, Liberty Landing in Red Deer County at 19.8, Jumping Pound Bridge at 24.6. Main Street originally proposed at 13, or Diamond was now being proposed as Diamond Ridge at 13.5. Colts 18.4. Kaiser at 18.4, Willow Ridge at 11. So all of them, what I would say, the more modernized ones that are meeting density targets would be like Liberty Landing in Red Deer County, which is at 19.8 under our current method, or Jumping Pound Ridge and Cochrane at 24.6.
And we're a little bit cock
Bigger.
on those.
Red Deer County.
So here's a question that no one has asked, but I'd really like to know. All the land that we have annexed, and talking about our population, knowing that we're landlocked to a certain degree. Could we even build it out before we ran out? Because if that's the case, then let's spread it out nicely, because we're locked.
How much did
That
it
would
cost
be better.
how much
Then
did
it's
it cost to
infrastructure.
replace first?
But that's the question, right? Because then you look at, okay, that's a great scenario, but then you have the infrastructure to fix and not enough tax dollars to do it again and again, if you don't have the density correct. Carry first.
Yes, so I believe I did state earlier in the meeting that based on the applications we have before us and running the numbers, we run out of water before we run out of development. With regards to, oh, well, if we're gonna run out of water anyway, and we annex all this beautiful land, let's spread it out. Quadruple taxes tomorrow, please. Craig will cry if you don't.
And that goes to your point. If we
It never
spread
been
out,
annexed.
increase all of our costs, right? So,
You disagree with me saying it shouldn't have been?
Oh, no, I'm actually agreeing.
Oh,
Okay, so, sorry.
so,
yeah, can Carrie finish that thought?
oh, yeah,
Sorry, Counselor. In reading through the assumptions of the annexation reports, it was assumed that we would continue to grow at very, very low,
Yeah.
primarily single-family detached dwelling densities,
Yeah.
which is why we annexed the amount of land we did. All of a sudden, when we're starting to quadruple the requirements for that density, we need 1/4 of the amount of land.
we got lots of employments, man.
For a non-water use player.
Hey, sometimes. Okay, so we have 24 presently in the plan.
With the current formula for green.
I'm good with it. 24, I'm good.
24 for
Hazel?
the greenfield, 15 for the infill.
Yeah.
I thought we were looking at 17. for the infill.
Well, the developer can drive it higher if he wants.
Okay,
You know,
okay,
if
that's
it's a
the
minimum.
base.
Yeah, it's a minimum.
Okay, right, from what you said
Yeah.
originally.
How do you feel?
15 is fine. Calculation on the 24, would that bring you down to about 20?
No, that's at the current calculation. Without what you're amending.
I don't like 30. I don't like 30 at all. 24 would be your,
Are you happy
Yeah.
to go with 20?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's 15, 20. I'm coming to you soon, Heather. 15 is not even on the table, that's done for info.
I would support 20. Say that, that's it, because then again, it's just the minimum.
30?
Mhm.
Your number, 24, 20, or 30?
Do I have to pick a number?
It's gotta stay. It's gonna vote.
One of us is gonna have to make.
I'm saying
motion to
24.
change it.
I'm saying 24.
Okay.
You're 24.
Based on what I've read, researched last year and a half, I like getting the minimum at a number that provides flexibility for the developers.
Yeah.
And the higher the number restricts the developer.
Are,
I understand the fiscal resiliency. I do. I get that.
and what's our job on council? Who are we?
We have to provide for, I could go through the 5 major things if you want me to, but I understand we have a fiscal responsibility with that. But we also don't have an asset management in place and replacement of current assets with material that is vastly improved stretches out that replacement over time. We haven't considered that. So I'm 20.
Heather. What's your number?
I'm 20. A minimum of 20, minimum of 20. That means
Minimum.
they can go
Okay,
24,
okay.
right?
Yep, that's all we need
They
to
can
know.
go to 55.
Yeah,
Yeah, so minimum of 20.
Some of them have on the infill.
okay. Do we need a motion on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jonathan,
Sure, I'll make a motion that we amend the MDP to in the greenfield. Is it just a greenfield?
I have the motion from last week.
We won't get a specific section. But infill, we're settled. We've already passed that motion last week.
and be sure and use the word minimum, please.
Oh, 100%.
That the value 24 be replaced with
Top one.
20 in policies 6.6.2 and 11.2.16.
Minimum.
Say again, Carrie.
That the value 24,
6.62.
sorry, amend policies. Yeah,
No, I just gotta get that.
6.62 and 11.2.
216,
No, I wanna be here.
11, sorry.
11.2.16. By replacing the value 24
Yeah, it wasn't a B-way.
with 20.
They want a minimum in there? Is that in there?
It's already stated in there. So just to confirm,
Oh, yeah, my-
6.62 deals with the flex planning area
It's ENT at Colorado.
and 11.
Yeah,
So 11 deals with our, is that the greenfield?
just made it a little.
Do you have the map up?
No, I'm looking at the actual, sorry.
Can I see is it possible, Vernon, once you're done with that, can I see the map for the flex?
Well, Justin's, that's the sister's after she.
What was the color?
In the crowd at.
Some 5, is that 5?
So when you actually know people that were like there,
Orange.
like, I mean, it's just.
Like this orange.
It's pretty rough.
I have a good recording of Cougar being shot almost that in person.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be, like they pitched from far away, but.
Can you go up so I can see the legend a little bit, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, the house is gonna be the secondary street to your house, because that's actually a road right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone thinks
Yeah,
now
I
it's
saw
not
this.
safe, that's actually a road right there.
It's a lot, it's mainly greenfield.
That was good.
Majority of it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Okay,
there's some-
okay, thank you, Vernon.
We have our motion.
No, but I mean. We already have a lot.
All right, here we go. Council amendment policy 6.6.2 and 11.2.16 by replacing the value 24 with 20. All in favor?
Sorry, whose motion is that?
Would be mine, I guess.
Jonathan.
Jonathan's.
All in favor? Heather?
Yeah, aye.
Okay. All opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you. Okay. Brad, we're gonna kick you up. We're gonna have a closed session. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, as simple as that, get him.
2.5 hours of your life you're not
Yeah,
getting back.
bring it elaborate.
Yeah, do we have to give second?
Yes,
What should I-
you haven't given second.
Oh, yeah.
Second is amended.
Get some rest.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait for Brendan.
Thank you, Verna. I was gonna ask if you can bring up my motions.
Yeah, right on. Good call, yes.
Are we on bio break?
Yeah. Okay, all right, we're reconvened here. Can I get, before we go into a closed session, a second reading for the bylaw 2025-122 as amended municipal development plan?
Over to two.
Get Brendan, second by Hazel here. All in favor?
Yeah.
That is good. All right, so we'll see that,
You need option two,
That's not what-
Barry. You
Yeah.
need motion two.
It's like a
Not quite deep
Gotcha.
enough. More of a firecracker.
go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, okay. The council direct administration in accordance with MGA section 187, article 3, to prepare the full text of the proposed bylaw with any amendments that were passed after first reading and return amended bylaw 2024-122 to council for consideration of third reading on October 1st, 2025.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you.
I have a
Good.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
So we gave it second reading as amended tonight, and we did some more
Yeah.
amendments tonight, so shouldn't it say any amendments that were passed after first reading and second reading, or second reading? Like, not just first reading?
As amended with any amendments.
Yeah, I know,
The
after
amendments.
first reading.
Yeah,
The
and
amendment.
so second reading is after first reading,
Okay,
right? So it was passed, amendments that were passed after first reading, which tonight they were.
It's correct.
So we're good. It means anything after first and in between third. So,
So just to clarify, your worship, so October
That's
1st,
fine.
we're coming back with a final draft with all the amendments that were passed at the last meeting and tonight.
yep,
Okay.
no discussion.
okay, perfect.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Heather, for
Sorry,
pointing that
I
out,
just-
so just in case. Nope, it's good. All right, can I get a motion going to close? Brendan, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.